Hi guys, it's your friendly neighborhood headbanger Terry here, and we are in black and white. What does that mean, kids? That's right, that means we're going to do some true crime. Now, I'm actually pretty glad that we're in black and white because I and my daughter had our booster shots today, our COVID booster shot. We had the Moderna shot. We actually went to Ingles grocery store to get it. Their pharmacy was giving it. We had gone to CVS to get it, and they were completely booked, which actually made me happy because that means that more people are going out and getting vaccinated, and that is a cool thing. But anyway, I digress. Basically, what that means is that I have, for the rest of the day since getting the shot, I've been kind of tired. My arms have been kind of sore. And I thought today is a great day to film something that would be in black and white because it won't be so obvious how crappy I look. Okay, so for today's case, we are going way back in time. We are going back in time nearly a century, even more than that if you count for when this guy was born. We are going to be talking about William Kenneth Kinnie Wagner. And he goes, or rather went, by Kinnie, Kinnie, oddly enough. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't necessarily that educated and just thought, well, I know he wasn't that educated, but we'll get into that later, and just thought that was the correct spelling. Anyway, you're going to see me with my glasses on a lot in this video once we get started because there is a lot going on with this guy. I mean, a lot. This guy did not let the grass grow under his feet whatsoever. And so you would think I would have my material turned exactly where I need it, and you would be wrong. Okay, so starting out, I don't need my glasses for this part because I remember this part. Kinnie was born on February the 18th, 1903 in Scott County, Virginia. Scott County is southwest Virginia. If you're thinking of Virginia as a state, it's down there in the corner, in the left-hand corner. And it borders, Scott County, Virginia borders Tennessee. You can literally just walk out of Scott County and into the state of Tennessee into Sullivan County. Now, this guy was born near a city called Gate City, Virginia. And the largest city, the largest city that was close to Gate City would be Kingsport, Tennessee. Kingsport goes right up to the Virginia line, and then at that point you are in Scott County or Gate City. So you're going to hear some about Kingsport, Tennessee as well. But he was technically born in Gate City in Scott County to, I believe, Charles and Nancy were the names of his parents. And he was one of 8 kids. 8 kids, which was not uncommon in the Appalachian area, the southern Appalachian area. People did tend to have a lot of kids because they could help with farm work and that type of thing, and they just didn't really practice any kind of birth control. I don't know if it wasn't available to them, which is probably true, or they just, large families were convenient, which was also probably true. Okay, at age 16, well, no, let's backtrack a little bit. When Kinnie was a smaller kid, his father got him a .22 for his, I think it was his 7th birthday? Anyway, he gave him a .22 and a rifle. And he used it to practice target shooting, and he got really good. It was said that if he could see it, he could hit it. The interesting thing was he did not sight anything that he shot. He did not like raise it up to the shoulder. He shot from the hip, literally shooting from the hip. So that was interesting, and he became a very good shot. So when he was about 16 years old, he joined the circus. Now, I looked at several versions of this story, and none of them said that he ran away. He just joined the circus. So I don't know if he ran away or not, but he joined the circus, and he became a trick shooter. You know, he did like trick shots and target, amazing target shooting and that sort of thing. And he was also a bronco buster. He would, ride the bucking horses until he, fell off of them, and he would often be able to stay on them for a long time. And he was called the Texas Kid, which is hysterical because he had never even been to Texas. He was from Virginia. Anyway, so after a while, he left the circus. It was the Richards Brothers Circus. After a while, he left that circus and he went to Mississippi. Not entirely sure how he got to Mississippi, but he wound up in Mississippi and he began running shine. And basically what that meant was bootleggers. But we were well and truly into the time of Prohibition at this point, because this is 1920, 23, 24. So he's going to be about 20, 21 years old, and Prohibition is a thing now. And so a lot of people, particularly in the South, made moonshine. My cat Sophie is trying to beat up an empty ginger ale box, so that's what you're hearing. Good thing this is not ASMR. In fact, you can consider it to be the gunshots in the background or something. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. So he finds himself in Mississippi. He's running shine, which basically means that he is picking up moonshine and delivering it to customers. That's what running shine means. And for those of you who don't know, if you're a fan of NASCAR and stock car racing gets its roots in people who were running shine. They needed fast, souped-up cars to get where they were going and to outrun the police if they needed to. So, the more you know. Anyway, so he's running shine, not in a souped-up car because it's 1920-something, but he gets involved in bootlegging. Now, while he is doing this bootlegging thing, he winds up getting arrested for stealing his friend's watch. Now, he says his friend gave him the watch just to, keep, although I don't know why that would happen. Anyway, so he's holding on to his friend's watch, but he gets arrested by the sheriff. Now, okay, we now have 2 cats playing with boxes. Fabulous. I'm just going to keep going. I'm not even feeling like stopping this thing and going in. We're 7 minutes in. We're going to forge on. Anyway, so he gets arrested for stealing this watch, which he may or may not have done. But he believes that the sheriff arrested him because the sheriff is actually involved in the bootlegging. And that happened a lot of times. Either the local law officers got paid off, or they were actually involved in the bootlegging themselves. I don't know which one this was, but the story had it that the sheriff was involved in the bootlegging, that the revenuers, aka the government, was coming to look around and sniff around and see if they could find any moonshine stills, and the sheriff was afraid that Kinnie would inform the government folks that the sheriff was involved as well. So that the charges were trumped up to get Kinnie in jail so he would keep his mouth shut. Well, that did not work because Kinnie broke out of jail. He escaped. He apparently attacked a guard and stole his horse, and off he went. Well, the sheriff could not have this, so he sent out a deputy on Christmas Eve. I'm like, okay, you couldn't let the guy have Christmas Eve? He sent a guy out on Christmas Eve to sort of ambush him, to take him down and bring him back. Well, unfortunately, Kinnie saw the deputy before the deputy saw him, and he killed him. So that is the first murder that happens by Kinnie. And now I am going to need my glasses. Alrighty. So he fled after he killed the deputy. He fled to his home area of Scott County, Virginia / Sullivan County, Tennessee, and he was kind of in the in that area there. And at that point, Mississippi was offering $1,000 to get him back, dead or alive. So he was kind of he's kind of trying to lay low. Unfortunately, that information is going to get back to the Kingsport, Gate City area, but we're not quite there yet. One day in April of 1925, Kingsport police got a tip that Kinnie would be meeting his sister at a park on a place called Long Island in Kingsport. In Kingsport, the Holston River does this deal. It kind of splits and goes around, and the land that's in between the split is called Long Island. Now, Long Island was first settled by Cherokee Indians, and then later on, as people began moving into Tennessee from North Carolina and Virginia and settling that area, it got taken over by white people, kind of like all the other times where Indians lived somewhere, or Native Americans, I'm sorry. But the Cherokee were the first to live there. And then after that, it became a settlement for people that were moving to Kingsport. And there was a park there, and he was going to meet his sister there because they were going to celebrate her graduating from high school. Because even though Kinnie obviously did not, leaving home at 16, she had, and it was a big deal, and she had not seen her brother in years. Mainly because he was, off doing things in Mississippi and, getting arrested and killing people. So anyway, the Kingsport police heard about this, and they sent, let me get this right, they sent 4 police officers and 1 Sullivan County deputy to capture Kinnie. And really, they were not looking to take him alive. I say capture, but no, they said, Mississippi said they'd give $1,000 dead or alive. They were like, dead, fine, we don't care. So they were not looking necessarily to take him back alive, and they went to the park early. They basically stayed there all day and lied in wait. Now, that ambush did not go as planned because once again, Kinnie figured out they were there. And he realized that he was being watched, and he was ready. And you have to remember, this guy's a trick shot. He's a crack shot. He knows how to get shots off quickly. And he shot and killed the deputy and a Kingsport police officer, and he seriously wounded another. So after he has killed these 2 men, he comes up to a guy, basically says, I'm, commandeering your horse, gets on his horse, and goes across the Holston River, obviously not at a deep point, but rides it across the river, and off he goes. And he actually went back into Virginia. And he wound up, first let me say this, that a manhunt in Kingsport was organized, but they had no luck whatsoever. He was long gone by the time that they got that put together and decided they were going to go search. And, while they're putting this together, this is one man on one horse making tracks. So he was pretty far gone. He ultimately surrendered in Waycross, Virginia. I'm not entirely sure where that is, but he was persuaded by a woman whose farm he was hiding. He was hiding on her farm, and she found him, and he was not mean to her. He never hurt women or children. There's no indication that he did that. In fact, there is some indication he was quite polite to women, and therefore they kind of liked him. I don't know if there was any romance between he and this woman on this farm or not. Couldn't find anything about that. But he did go ahead and surrender. She talked him into surrendering, which he did, and he was taken back to Blountville, Tennessee. Blountville is the county seat of Sullivan County, where Kingsport is. So basically, he's being brought back to Blountville for the Kingsport murders that happened at Long Island. And he was put on trial there, and the jurors took 13 hours to find him guilty, and he was sentenced to death in the electric chair at the state prison. Obviously, there's not an electric chair at Sullivan County. Sullivan County is a large county, but Blountville was a tiny town back then, and Kingsport was not a big town either. So they would have taken him to a larger town in Tennessee, probably Nashville. And let's see. But before any of that could happen, before he could be electrocuted, he escaped yet again and fled the state. And apparently there is some record of him going to Mexico and doing some train robberies and some bank robberies, but I could not find a lot of information about that, and I don't know if that is just part of the fable about him, because there is a lot of made-up stuff about him. He's kind of an anti-folk hero kind of thing. But anyway, he does, for sure, eventually make it to Texarkana, Arkansas. And while in Texarkana, Arkansas, he kills two more men. He kills Sam and Will Carper and wounds their brother Bob. Now, there are two varying accounts of how and when this took place. Some accounts say that it was a barroom brawl at night, and that it just happened during this barroom brawl. Other accounts say that it happened during a card game and there was an argument. Either way, it happened at night because Kinnie was quoted as saying that he would have gotten Bob, meaning he would have killed Bob instead of wounded him. He would have gotten him too if it hadn't been so dark. Okay. I don't know if he's trying to excuse the fact that he didn't kill three people, because that's kind of scary. Anyway, he surrendered himself to, yet again, another woman, Sheriff Lily Baker. Now, a female sheriff was not a common thing back then, and the only reason that she was sheriff is because her husband had died while in the office of sheriff, and they just moved her into the office of sheriff. I don't know if they had not had another election yet by that time, or if they were trying to pick someone, but for that moment, she was indeed the sheriff. And she decided that she was not going to charge him because the Carpers, Sam and Will, that he had killed, were not good people. They were like a nuisance to the town. They were just annoying and always into some sort of petty crime. And basically, she felt like Kinnie had done her job for her by getting rid of them. I'm pretty sure Bob was not happy about that, but there's no comment on what Bob thought. There's also another theory that she didn't charge him because she was in love with him and that there was some sort of romance between the two of them. But obviously, when he surrendered himself to Sheriff Lilly, when Mississippi and Tennessee found out about that, they really both wanted a crack at him. And they both wanted to try him for murder. But Mississippi was actually the state that got him because his first killing, when he killed the deputy who was trying to bring him back in after his first escape, that was the first killing, so Mississippi got him. So he was tried in Mississippi and sentenced to life. Apparently, I don't know if Mississippi didn't have the death penalty or if they just didn't feel that it was a case that warranted the death penalty. I guess he should be glad that Mississippi got him and not Tennessee, because Tennessee was ready to kill him. So he's being tried in Mississippi. He gets sentenced to life at Parcham Farm. I think I'm saying that right, Parcham. Parcham Farm was a working prison farm in Mississippi, and it was hardcore. You did not go there to sit around and have fun. You went there to pick cotton and work the fields, and it was a 12 to 16 hour day out in the fields. Didn't really have a whole lot of discipline problem because everyone was just too freaking tired. And, the guards were on horses with guns, and the prisoners were watched. And there were actually some female prisoners at Parcham, and they mostly did sewing and laundry work and that type of thing. But so, yeah, he was sent to Parcham Farm for life. The first time he tried to escape, he was informed on by somebody, so that didn't work for him. But eventually, he decided, I'm going to be a model prisoner and see what privileges I can get going on here. So eventually, he was made an armed trustee. This is a man who has killed 5 people and wounded another gravely, and they have given him a weapon and made him an armed trustee. Personally, at this point, I think you just, deserve whatever you get at this point. But he was made an armed trustee, and he was allowed to train the dogs that looked for escaped prisoners. Ah, the irony. Yes, Kinnie is an armed trustee training dogs that look for escaped prisoners. Yep. So, yeah, in 1940, oddly enough, he just escaped. He just walked off trustee duty one day. Boom, gone. And in 1943, he was found, guess where? Near Scott County, Virginia. He'd gone back to the home place. He was taken back to prison to Parcham, and he was a model prisoner until 1948, when he walked off of duty again. He just walked away, basically, and he found his way back to Mississippi, And by this time, he was on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list. Our boy Kenny made it to the top 10. He was recaptured a few years later at a female friend's house after a jealous man informed on him, and we think that the man was also in love with the female whose house Kenny was staying at. So there was a little bit of a jealousy thing going there. How to get rid of your rival? Well, when he's an escaped con, just tell somebody where he is. Can't say I blame that guy. Yeah, good on him. So Kenny is now found yet again and returned back to Mississippi. He's very ill at this point. This is 1953, I think. He died at Parcham Prison in 1958. And he is basically, he's kind of, like I said, a folklore anti-hero. He is a legend in Virginia and Tennessee, in that part of Southwest Virginia, Upper East Tennessee. They have written ballads, folk songs about him. He's had comics made about him. Books have been written about him. There's particularly, I think, some books in Mississippi have been written about him. Now, I have tried to give you the most complete picture I could about Kenny. Depending on what information you're looking at and where it's from, Mississippi versus Virginia versus Tennessee, the facts change a little bit. If you read the Mississippi version, you get a little bit more of a Billy the Kid, kind of thing about Billy the Kid, Jesse James, sort of outlaw superstar kind of thing. If you read like the Virginia, Tennessee accounts, you get a little bit more of a he was a criminal and needed to be caught and this is a bad guy kind of vibe going on. So it's interesting, based on the sources you read, how he's characterized. He's either characterized as a bad guy, but you kind of sort of want to be him because he's, doing all these things, or he's just a straight out criminal who doesn't deserve any kind of, glory or anything like that. I made a count of the escapes and murders. He is guilty of murdering 5 men and gravely wounding another. And he made in all 6 prison escapes. So this is a guy, like I said in the beginning, who did not let the grass grow under his feet. He was, he killed when he felt like he needed to kill. And he didn't harbor any emotion about it or any remorse about it. He did not want to be in a prison, so he just left a prison anytime he could. And by the time he went back, he had escaped so many times. By the time he went back, the last time to Parcham, he was ill. He felt bad. He was ready to go back. He went back willingly, and interestingly, every time he surrendered himself a couple of times, and did so, without any hoopla, without any, gun battles or anything, except for the first one where he killed the deputy. But when he surrendered himself, he generally did so without a whole lot of hoopla. Probably because he just knew he wasn't going to stay in jail. I mean, it was very hard to keep this guy in a prison or jail or whatever. So that is the story of William Kinnie Wagner. And this is my black cat, Casey. Say hi, Casey. Say hi, buddy. Says, nope, I'm not going to do it. Well, he just came to visit. He's a big guy. He is a big kitty. I have 3 cats surrounding me now, so maybe that's my cue to say goodbye to you guys and give these guys some attention. I hope you enjoyed this story. It wasn't particularly gross or gory or anything like that. Like I said, it had more of a kind of a Western outlaw kind of feel to it. But I thought it was interesting, and I thought it was particularly interesting because this guy just did not let the grass grow under his feet. He was always doing something, usually illegal. All right, guys, I hope you're well. I hope you're safe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.